Good evening. I will call to order the June 5th, 2025 Smyrna Municipal Planning Commission meeting. And with that, if you'll stand, Steve is going to lead us in prayer and Selena in the pledge.
Bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for another beautiful day here in the town of Smyrna. Lord, we ask that you be with the workers and the air show personnel, the pilots, and all of the performers this weekend, Lord, as we welcome the Blue Angels and the air show back to town. We ask for their safety and their safe return back to their families. Help the town of Smyrna to have a great weekend, Lord. Be with these proceedings, that everything would be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve and Selena. So we are now on to citizens' comments. I would remind everybody that the town's public comment period shall be reserved for those citizens that have signed up to address a board or committee at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting pursuant to the town's public comment policy. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and additional comments can be submitted in writing. And with that, I believe we have Patrick Bouchane here, so if you'll come up, sir, if you're here, give us your name and address and whether you live in the city or county.
Good evening. Patrick Beauchene, 6614 Lee Road, live in the county. I'm here tonight to share with the Planning Commission some information relative to the Gwynn Farms development and the proposed final plat request in tonight's agenda. I know per the packet, the staff recommends not approving this. However, there is more to understand and a situation with the developer that needs to be known and which must be better monitored and controlled by the town. This developer is repeatedly violating rules, ordinances, and law. And we ask the Planning Commission to defer any Gwynn Farms development request for at least 60 days to allow the town time to get a plan in place to monitor and control this developer. There have been about 10 significant rain events starting in December of 2024 through June of 25. After the first major, back up a little bit. This new section runs across our west property line. Since December 19 of 2024, there's been a blatant disregard for controlling the erosion, the dirt, and sediment runoff from this property onto ours, then polluting our pond, impacting wildlife, and the downstream streams which run into Olive Branch. An additional 3-acre pond across the road at 6501 Lee Road has also been polluted by runoff from this same development. Back in July of 2024, we had 2 meetings with Tom Rose with the town, and that second meeting on July 12th also included a representative from Lennar Homes and SEC Engineering. We expressed our significant concerns about dirty water, sediment runoff and erosion runoff from their property during the rain events once they opened up the ground. We were assured by Lennar, SEC Engineering, and Tom Rose at the town the water would be controlled, filtered, and we had nothing to worry about. Since then, there's been about 10 significant rain events starting in December 2024 through June of 25. After the first major rain event, we immediately noticed big problems. We made 5 contacts with Lennar, phone calls, emails, texts, in-person meetings, sent pictures and videos showing what the problems were. They made no meaningful correction to the problems whatsoever. After that, when rain events continued to happen, we in total have sent 6 emails to Tom Rose, Dave Santucci, Jeff Peach, all in 2025. All had pictures and videos attached, and we're asking Tom Rose to take action with the developer to correct these problems. No meaningful action by the town was taken to correct these issues. On April 21st, we ourselves reached out to TDEC and filed a complaint. And then on May 23rd, I emailed Dave Santucci, the mayor, and the town council directly, asking them to step in and take action, that this has to stop. And as of right now, I have no follow-up from the town. We've spoken with TDEC multiple times. They've stepped in. There are multiple complaints, multiple notices of violations. The town did order a stop work order, issue a stop work order on the 29th. That came by way of TDEC's prodding is what it sounded like. What we don't understand is why the developers continued to operate, is allowed to continue to operate like this for so long, not being held accountable. The town is required to monitor this and enforce these laws pertaining to this under TDEC and should be working to protect the adjacent properties and especially the sensitive environmental areas.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was your time.
Yeah, I have just one more thing, if I may.
No, sir, that's your
Appreciate
time.
that. So additional evidence the developer's out of
Sir.
control. We've had to call the Smyrna Police 13 times
Okay, I
on
need you
that
to stop right
since
now.
the
You're
construction crews have been
violating.
violating ordinances.
Sir, please.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Same here. Okay, we are now on to the approval of minutes of the May 1st, 2025 meeting. Counselor, are the meeting minutes in order?
In order to form, Chairman.
If the commission, if you've had a chance to review, do we have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We are now on to old business. The first is annexation, zoning, and plan of service request. This is 452 Properties LLC, Bill France Road and I-40, annexation and PUD zoning request. Kevin, it's my understanding the developer has requested deferral.
Yeah, this is the one we talked about last month and was deferred a month, but we knew at the time it may.
More likely
May have
than not.
more likely would have more deferrals, and so we are meeting, sitting down with them next week. Along with several different parties are meeting together to discuss this next week. So this may come, next month we may be acting on it, but as of right now, this would not need any action other than deferral.
Okay, and staff is good with the deferral?
Yes.
Okay, any questions for Kevin on this?
I'll make a motion to defer as requested.
I have a motion to defer as requested. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of this deferral, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Our next under preliminary plats, estate at Williamsport Drive, owner, developer, RMG Development. Kevin, there was a note, and if you'll go ahead and just talk through that about,
Sure, yeah. The developer had submitted a sketch plat that was, back up a little bit. The previously approved sketch plat did require a connection of Williamsport Drive on the south side of this property. That was required as part of the sketch plat approval. When the preliminary plat was submitted, it does not show that. And so, we had, recommended that they show that. We've been working through that, and essentially, we are still recommending that. They have agreed to that at this time, and so they have withdrawn that sketch plat that's later on in your agenda. It has been withdrawn from consideration. They're not asking you to amend this previous approval. So they would like to do, what they would like is for you all to consider the preliminary plat without the changes, and so that would requiring that connection there on the south side. And so the reason for the comment was to postpone this until after you consider that sketch plat amendment, just so that the sketch plat, that decision could be made whether or not the road connection would be required, and so that the preliminary sketch could be consistent in that manner. So that's not necessary anymore. So basically, the preliminary plat can be considered as is, and then we will not need to consider that sketch plat later on. So the preliminary plat that is in front of you it's not really changed. They have acquiesced to make the connection. They have not shown that connection yet on that south side. The other comments were a lot of informational comments. There is a issue on this area because of fire flow. Most likely they're going to have to sprinkle all these homes, most likely, and have a size limitation in order to meet that. To be able to, even with the sprinklers, I probably need a limited size to nothing over 3,600 square feet. There's some road name requirements and other things like that they still need to meet as well. So, anyway, so that's, they have requested approval with the conditions, the 16 conditions that are remaining, which were all, as we discussed, last month as well. So, again, the main difference is, turn this on, in this area here, That's where this road is currently dead-ended, would be, the connection would be made here. So it is gonna alter, obviously, some lots, locations of some lots. But we have not seen that drawn out as yet, so.
Okay, so this preliminary plat as presented right now does not include the connection that was required.
It does not include that, no, but they are agreeing to the condition that we had, comment number 10. They're no longer asking you to approve it without it, but it has not been shown, the plat has not been amended to show it yet.
Okay. Questions for Kevin?
They say when they'd have the corrected and final plat ready?
It would have to, obviously, if it, as a condition, they would have to submit revised plans to us, and then the final plat would have to match that as well.
But no, as to when?
As to when, I do not know as to when. There, someone's here, maybe they might could answer that question. I don't know what their timing is on it. Yeah.
And is it staff's position with what's written, requiring this with the plat in front of us, that you're comfortable to handle, I guess, this administratively?
I mean, I would be comfortable to that. If the planning commission would like to see it before you approve it, I can understand that as well, though.
Other questions or comments?
What if we gave it a, okay, based on second review and approval?
I mean, you will
That
see this
condition.
again at final plat. Yeah, you would see it again before they could build anything.
I really don't have a problem with Kevin making that call when they receive it. It is an item that's gonna be required according to the approval anyway. It's a staff comment, and we will see the final plat.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Make the motion to approve with staff comments and highlighting item number 10.
Okay. I have a motion to approve with staff comments and highlighting item 10. Charles, would that a second from you? Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion? All those approving this motion, subject to staff comments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. We are now on to site plans. Our first item is Smyrna Soccer Complex, Union Springs Road East, owner developer SSCP LLC.
This is a site plan that was considered last month and was deferred. We're looking at parking consideration last month, allowing some time for staff and the applicant to get together and come up with a solution that would either A, increase the parking that was shown on site last month, and try to better figure out a business model for the development. The overall site has 2 access points, 2 on Union Springs Road East. There would be 2 small soccer fields as part of this facility with a storage room and a concessions waiting area. Currently, they're showing for 76 parking spaces. Last month when we looked at this, they were showing for 69. So we have increased the parking on this site, more or less pretty much maxing out what the site could handle with the parking and the building on it in its current state. Square footage of a vehicular use area, looking at 28,262 square feet, which would require 2,826 square feet of landscaping, and they're showing for 5,000, so meeting that requirement. Parking, as mentioned last month, again, the requirement per the zoning ordinance is 1 space per staff plus others as determined by planning commission, so it's a bit of an open-ended interpretation for what parking would be required for facilities, since we do have different varying activities that could occur within indoor commercial facilities, whether it be soccer, baseball, or any other type of indoor facility. So Currently, they're showing for 76 spaces, though. Landscape plan shows red maples and a variety of shrubbery for streetscaping along Union Springs Road East. Trees are planted within landscape islands and shrubbery planted around the base of the building. Architectural elevations show the building to be finished on all 4 sides with a mixture of brick, glass, and fiber cement board. All 4 elevations are to have over 75% of the primary material, which would meet our design review requirements. Standard comments 1 through 6, all the same as last month and all remain still. Staff comment 1, these are currently all separate parcels. I believe there's 3 separate parcels. These are going to be required to be combined prior to issuance of a permit. Staff has received a combination plat, but it would still need to be approved and recorded. Comment number 2, we asked, is the utilities comment to provide line sizes for the domestic and fire water lines? And comment number 3 is regarding the parking again. Staff's concerned that the adequate parking is not provided for this project. There could be as many as 16 players on the field at any time, with additional parking needs for employees, coaches, and referees. During a time of transition between scheduled games, parking areas for surrounding businesses and properties may become used for people visiting this property. Suggestion we had previously was for the applicant to eliminate large storage area and shrink the building. Originally, when we first saw the site, we had 3 fields and a storage area. Went down to 2 fields and a large storage area, and then the storage area has shrunk since. So this is currently where we are at today. Staff's thinking, worst case scenario, this parking area is maxed out. Realistically, is it probably going to be maxed out the entire time this facility is open? Probably not. But with the interpretation that it's up to really planning commission and staff to figure out what a good parking requirement is for a facility of this nature. This is where we're at today. And with that, staff would recommend approval with those above listed comments. I'll really just open up for discussion for the parking. The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think this is about 20 or so more spaces, I think, than we had last month.
Then the original version of it. It's went through several different iterations,
Yeah,
been
right.
working on it with the applicant on it, and last month was 69, we're up to 76
Okay,
today.
69, okay, so yeah, it was in the 50s, I know, in the beginning.
It was one of the originals, yep.
And the way you're getting to your 16 was it's 4v4 fields, right? So 8 and 8 with refs makes it 16, 17, 18,
Yep,
20.
approximate 20, yeah.
So with 60, how many, 7 sites?
76.
There's 76 spaces shown now.
So that's basically 36, 37. If you flip the field twice, you could have 37 people there and then 37 people coming.
37.
And before you're filled up. And we think we'd have 16 on the field, that still leaves 21 or so spectators, coaches,
Yeah.
umps, whatever. Or refs, I guess, in soccer.
And employees.
Yeah, and there may be a couple of employees there, I'm sure. You know, there's gonna
And
be a
that's,
small.
that's assumption that everybody's driving their own car, right?
Yep,
Right.
and no one's staying extra or.
Right.
Heavy, yep.
Yeah, so there's some assumptions in there. Is the only issue the staff has is the parking?
That was his only concern. We even had it last month even. The building and all meets the design review, the landscaping, everything is meeting our requirements other than, that was our only concern before. And I think in the beginning, looking at the size, we were assuming possibly larger fields, it may have more people, and this size fields is really, they're kind of 4-on-4 is really kind of the size of fields these are. So, I mean, I think we're at a much higher comfort level now than we were last month, for sure.
Kevin and staff and Mitch, all of y'all looked at it and decided what you think is a good number? I mean,
You know,
you're
that's
asking-
where the struggle's been, you
Yeah.
know, we couldn't, there's not, and we even looked at some of the surrounding communities, most of them were either, had the same requirement we have, which is obviously the struggle, or they had a different requirement, but, I mean, I think it was Murfreesboro had
Some were higher, some were
a very
lower.
high requirement
Yeah,
that we
it's
felt was
Kind of all over the place.
excessive, almost as much as what we would require for like a fast food or a gas station that has a lot of turnover, a lot of cars in and out all the time, you know? And so it was, we really kind of struggled with it, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know about the rest of the panel here, but I want you comfortable with it.
Right,
And I don't want to take just a stab at who's going to be there and who's not
right,
on a given day.
yeah. And, I mean, actually, I think we're at a pretty good comfort level with where they're at now. Much better than what we were prior to this submittal. So we feel fairly good about it. And then the applicants here, if you all have any questions of them as well.
What's the typical, say this was approved and everything was open and they continually had parking problems day after day, what's the progression of how the town would deal with something like that?
It's approved.
Well, if they, obviously, for some reason, they start parking on Eden Springs Road. that immediately
Or in the
becomes-
grass or whatever.
That immediately becomes a police department issue, and we
Right.
take care of that immediately.
That would be the issue, is honestly, once it's approved and they have the spots, if they start going over that, they're gonna have to overflow onto the grass or the road. And both of those, grass is a codes violation, the road is obviously a legal issue. So that's how we would enforce something. Now, the problem is, they could start parking in the drive lanes and start overstacking the lot. And again, that's a codes issue as well.
Becomes,
So-
and then, or do they start, and if they start showing up on adjoining properties and
Right.
walking, that becomes an issue for those property owners to kind of not allow the parking. or
That's
whatever.
probably the biggest risk, and the only good thing is there's not a lot of parking lots even around them at this point. There will be in the future, but probably not right now.
At least on their side of the road,
They'd have to come across, that's the issue, are they gonna start overflowing to the town parking lot?
The town hall or
And
the
then we've got
daycare
a
center or something.
crosswalk issue, people crossing Enoch Springs Road.
Yeah, this is a tough call. Is there someone from the developer here that could come forward, and I'd like to recognize you and just ask a couple questions about the.
Yes, sir. Chris McGuire with Huddleston Steel Engineering, 2115 Northwest Broad Street. Happy to talk to y'all about this project a little bit. I appreciate y'all taking the time again and giving us the feedback last month. When the plan first came to staff, I think we had around 60 spaces and about twice as much storage space for equipment. Hearing some of their concerns, we reduced the storage space on the right side of the page by about 50% and added 9 spaces. We then came to a planning commission meeting and heard y'all's concerns, so we deferred so that we could discuss operations with the ownership and planning staff. And in working with Mitch, we were able to find, I believe, 7 more spaces. So we've made some pretty drastic changes to the site trying to get these additional spaces. Like what was mentioned, it's 4 versus 4 fields. So in reality, you're talking about 16 kids, and when you're overturning, maybe 32 kids. 8 kids playing, and then 16 more kids coming for their next game. So we feel like it's adequately parked. I believe they've got a similar facility in another, maybe in Laverne. And I believe that we greatly exceed their parking over there. As far as staff goes, we might have 1 or 2 people working the food stand and maybe a janitor that works cleaning up. And then other than that, it'll probably be the referees. So there's not a whole lot of staff involved as well for the facility. If y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do you have any idea of the days and hours of operation for this?
The hours of operation, I believe, last month they said, I believe it's 8 to 10, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock
8
at
p.m.
night.
to 10 p.m.? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, its primary operation is going to be your after-school kids. We would imagine. So it's after school, people having soccer practice, or because it's a rain day, or it's a rain day and kids are wanting to go somewhere to play ball against each other, they would rent out one of the fields.
So is there a league here, or is this just strictly for rental?
It's just, I believe it's just for rental, and like you can, an individual can rent it out just for him and his buddies to go play on one of the fields. So, I mean, it doesn't have its own league there.
Could
I
we-
don't see how that would even operate.
So if somebody showed up with 20 buddies,
Take up both fields.
okay, and that's what I'm trying to reconcile, is it limited to 4-on-4?
That's
Can
as
you
big
have,
as,
like,
so your traditional soccer field, this takes up 1/8 of your traditional soccer field. So when you're looking at scale, I mean, these are your 5 and 6-year-old fields with the little mini goals that are, I mean, they're not large fields. It's a little deceiving because when you see a soccer field drawn, you assume it's massive, but it's pretty small in scale. I've watched my kids have 2 soccer teams practice on one of these half fields, and it looked like madness. So I can't imagine that you could get 20 kids
okay.
playing on one.
Other questions? Thank you.
Kevin, do we have, what's our ordinance to say about like fitness facilities or gyms, as far as parking requirements for them? Do you know?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
I was just doing a couple of lookups here and I'm seeing like 250 per, one for 250 square foot.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm seeing, and they're 15,000 square feet with 76, they're at about 1 to 200.
Yeah, they're all, yeah, that's about where they're at, as far as what they're parking, which is pretty close to like what we would require for like a commercial retail complex, 1 to 200. So that's, as far as a comparison of what we would require if this were a commercial complex, square footage was a commercial complex.
I think the only thing I can think of in the area that we have similar to this is obviously our own SOAC, but that's a little different. And then, of course, the gymnastics facility on Old National Highway in front of Food Line. I know there's parking issues there, but I don't think they have this many parking spots.
Yeah, I can't recall.
And that
Exactly, I mean-
calculation was based on max occupancy in the building, so also calculated differently. I have the hours of operation, so in discussion with the owner of the property, their intention for this was potentially 7 days a week from 12 noon to 11 PM. That was their
To 11 PM?
guesstimate.
So there would be
Actually.
adults there, obviously, too.
I was gonna say, you can't have 5 and 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there obviously would be some adult pickup games or something like that.
And then his estimate as well was about 17 to 18 people a field per time,
Did you say 17 to 18 people
per field.
per field?
Yep. So the numbers we're talking about is pretty accurate, factoring in about 20, give or take.
Okay. Other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve with staff comments.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving with staff comments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved.
I'll give them a chance.
It's always hard when you haven't seen anything like it.
Just want to get his input. Kevin, I would like to see us maybe look at this, maybe get something more definitive around, because
I would
we may
agree.
see more things like this in the future.
I would agree, and I think we probably need to do a kind of a quick overview of just our parking and make sure we don't have any others like that so try to fix them all at one time, not just this one. The other, if there are any other uses that have that issue.
I mean, you know, kind of based on Steve's calculations, I felt like we're pretty close on this, and
Yeah.
that kind of, you know,
That's
what-
kind of where we ended up too.
That's kind of what I was thinking is, you know, based on what I could see online with other calculations and stuff that have been used, we're right there. We're definitely not over, but we're right probably at the number, so.
Right.
yeah.
Hopefully this, doesn't come back to be a problem.
Right.
All right, so we're on the new business, first rezoning request, Dogwood Villas, Stewart's Creek Cottages, Morton Lane, 420 Moultries Place, PRD amendment.
Yeah, this is a request to amend the approved PRD. This originally came into Stewart's Creek Cottages. As it has developed, it's become Dogwood Villas. That's how it's branded. It's about, it's currently, is a PRD as stated. Surrounding zoning is R3, and then PRD, which is the Cedar Hills PRD, in town, and RM in Rutherford County. It does border a county parcel on one side there. The land use plan would support medium-density residential development in this area. There are no roads shown on the thoroughfare plan that would be affected by this request. The existing approved PRD is for 76 villas, which are constructed as 38 zero lot line buildings, meaning 2 units in a building with the property line put in between them. There was one single-family residence in this development, which was for a total of 77 residences, 19.47 acres. The house that's existing there was the house that was on the property when it was developed, and they kept that house. This project was approved to comply with the Housing for Older Persons Act, so they're essentially 55 plus. This proposed amendment would add one additional single-family dwelling with the proposal to divide that existing lot that has the house, there's a house and a garage on the property, divide that lot into 2 lots, build one additional house on the new lot, so there would be an increase of from 77 to 78 residences on the 19.47 acres, slight increase in the density. It would be required to have its own separate utility services and all that. My required minimum fire flow is 1,000 gallons per minute at 20 PSI, or anything over 3,600 square feet may change that, which is just a standard kind of comment for their information. This is served by CUD, so did CUD to ask for, if it's approved and once the plans are done, to submit the plans to them as well. Just for everyone's clarification, this is the lot we're talking about here, which is kind of in the middle of the project. As you can see kind of from the overhead, there's the houses, the existing house is on the left, and then next to it is it's a 2-car separate garage over here. Their proposal is basically just to divide that in half and tear this garage down and build a house. It's about a little over 20,000 square foot, almost 21,000 square foot lot, so it'd be equivalent, if it were approved and divided, each lot would be roughly equivalent of an R3 size lot, minimum size lot, so. There's no changes proposed into the PUD as far as the size of the homes or anything like that, no changes there. This PUD, as you can tell from the overhead photo there, is largely developed. I think even several of these that are shown in the photo is vacant are built on now or under construction, so this development is approaching completion, and so we really just had this one additional home here, so I believe that's all that I've got.
Questions for Kevin concerning this?
Kevin, the 19.47, is the .48 included in that, or is it in addition to that?
Yeah, it's included in that, yeah. The .48 is just the lot itself,
Yeah, just this one lot.
just that one lot.
Yeah, so I went out maybe a month or so ago, I don't know how long it's been, I went out with Sean and looked at this, and he kind of showed me what he was thinking. The one thing that you don't see on the pictures is this garage is it's really more like a barn. It's not really a garage. It's not like you would think a detached garage would look like. It's suffered some storm damage and needs some repair. So no slight to Sean, it's a little bit of an eyesore to the community. I think repairing it, it would make it fine, or replacing it with a house fits the community better. So it made a lot of sense to me. This development is right at 4 units per acre. So this doesn't really affect, I think it goes from 4.1 to 4.12 or something by adding this one house. But generally it just fits, and it's a single family, not a double, right? Everything else in the house is essentially, everything else in the complex is 2 units per lot, and this is 1 unit per lot. So this is actually less dense than everything else in the development.
Yeah, you're going, as I said, you're creating, essentially got a half-acre lot to become 2 10,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, so 2 quarter-acre lots with a house on them, and those are both single-family homes, not
Correct.
2-family homes like the rest of the development. And then you also see on here, the corner lot there right beside it is currently empty, and there's 2 houses planned for that lot. I think they're just starting on those, but those will be standard they're part of the PRD already. That's already part of the original.
Correct.
Approved.
Yes, yeah. Everything's approved except replacing the garage.
And the elevations will match current elevations, so it would make it more conform
Yeah,
with
this-
what's
yeah,
being,
yeah.
what's being
Yeah,
built
and
there.
those are in the packet of information there, but.
Yeah.
But they are very similar to what was approved for the 2-unit building.
Yeah, I think it's mostly brick construction. They're brick and
Yeah.
some siding.
Brick and
Deed
hard.
restriction remains as far as
Yeah.
55.
Right.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Kevin, the properties that back up to the R1 off to the right there where Jericho, all that, I'm assuming this was approved before the 20-foot buffer was in?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, this was approved quite a few years ago.
Other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the amendment with staff comments.
A motion from Matt to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Selena. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion with staff comments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Okay. Next, we have sketch of plats, estates at Williamsport Drive, owner developer RMG Development.
And that's the one that has been withdrawn.
Right, okay. So we are now on the final plats. Gamble Lane PUD, northeast corner Gamble Lane and Enid Springs Road West, owner developer Hollingshead Land LLC.
So this is the plat to create, basically it's doing a couple of things. One is creating a separate lot on the corner of Enid Springs and Gamble Lane, which was the C2 zoning that was approved when this development was approved. And so we create that lot, a separate lot, as well as the second lot would be the horizontal property regime, create that plat, creating the easements and et cetera for that development as well, for the townhome development, which was 36 townhomes that were approved as part of this PRD. So it's just, again, creating the 2 lots on the 5.25 acres, but then also creating the HPR portion on lot 2. We had several common or standard comments regarding signage. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Enid Springs West as a minor arterial and Gamble Lane as a collector, and they are showing right-of-way dedication along Gamble Lane. It exists already on Enid Springs, and that portion of, actually, when the road was widened, the right-of-way, that first area there on Lot 1 has already existed, but they are dedicating the right-of-way there along Lot 2 frontage there along Gamble Lane. They still need to reference the long-term maintenance agreement on the plat and fill in that booking page number. Standard comment regarding fire flow requirements and no burn permits are allowed at this location. Still need to add the owner's signature and surveyor signatures there. Comment number 7 has been addressed, and so it can be removed. And so, again, that was already existing. They're not actually dedicating any right of way there. So, with comments 1 through 6, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin on this? Kevin, this appears to be consistent with what's been previously approved.
It is, yes.
Questions from the commission? I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have
With
a
staff
motion
comments.
to approve with staff comments from Steve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, subject to staff comments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Kevin, next we have Gwynn Farms, Phase 4, Section 1, Robert Gwynn Drive, owner developer Melrose Property Tennessee's LLC. It's my understanding they've requested a deferral.
They have requested deferral, yes.
Okay. Staff good with the deferral?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin concerning this deferral request?
Did we have a timeline on this deferral?
They requested a 1 month to the next meeting, is what they requested. They are, essentially, this final plat doesn't match the preliminary plat that was approved, so they have to resubmit the preliminary plat. And so, that's why they've asked deferral on this, because we couldn't recommend this to you without, with the plat's not matching, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion
Motion to defer.
for 30 days? Or
Sure.
Motion
Is
to,
that what they asked for, 30 days, that we're good?
till the next meeting. All right, I have a motion to defer to the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, second?
Second.
And a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of this deferral until the next meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Okay, we are now on to Hidden Hills, Section 6, Phase 2A, Summerlin Drive, owner and developer Near Homes, Inc.
Yes, this is Phase 2A, Section 6, Hidden Hills. It's 25 lots on 11.66 acres. It is zoned R3. We had a few comments. They're all relatively standard comments regarding signage and the owners and surveyors' signatures and et cetera. So we would recommend approval with those 5 remaining comments.
Okay.
It
Questions?
is consistent with the approved preliminary plat, by the way.
Did you think I was going to ask that?
Yeah, I was anticipating that, yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any further questions or comments for Kevin?
Motion to approve, staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor then of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Our next final plat is Hidden Hills, Section 6, Phase 2B, Shetland Drive, owner, developer, Near Homes, Inc.
This is the remaining portion of Section 6 of Hidden Hills. It's 24 lots, 10.76 acres, also zoned R3. Again, we had several standard comments, which put 1 through 5, which would all need to remain. There was also an additional comment, number 6. They had some of the drainage easements that they did, our ordinance does require an additional 5 feet side setback on those easements, just to give us a little more room. If we had to get in that easement to do any work and require, certainly the HVAC units would not be in the easements and those kind of things, so they end up on the side. So Anyway, that has been addressed and can be removed. So with those 5 standard comments, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin concerning this site plan? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the staff
I
comments.
have a motion to approve the staff comments from Matt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Selena. Further discussion?
When was this originally submitted?
Sir?
When was it originally submitted? I mean, the preliminary plat? It hasn't been recent. It's been several months now.
The lot sizes are much bigger than what we're seeing coming through these days.
Yeah, this is all
This is
zoned
R3
R3.
subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is R3. And there's some, in this area, it's got some pretty significant topo changes too, which certainly lead to those larger lots as well.
Okay, other questions? All those in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Last item under final plats, Mayfield Townhomes, Mayfield Drive, owner, developer, Somerset LLC.
Yeah, this is the HBR plat for the townhomes on Mayfield Drive. There's 29 units here, 3.96 acres. It is zoned R6, and so this is really just a plat to dedicate easements, all the public easements and everything, and set those footprints for the homes. Mayfield Drive is a collector, and there is adequate right-of-way there. That does exist on that street, so they did not have to dedicate any additional right-of-way. And then we just had a few other standard comments. So with those standard comments, 1 through 5, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin concerning this?
This was approved many years ago, wasn't it, Kevin?
It's
Many years ago.
been approved several years, and they
Slabs were put in.
put in all the infrastructure. It's just for I think it's in maybe the original developer is looking to sell it or something like that, but yeah,
I'm glad to see something finally coming in.
it's been approved for a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve with staff comments from Steve. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mark. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We're now on to site plans. The first item is 12415 Old Nashville Highway and 124015 Old Nashville Highway, owner developer Near Homes. Kevin, is my understanding this has been withdrawn?
That has been withdrawn, yes.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. Our next site plan is Cedar Stone Park Phase 2, 3639 Morton Lane, owner developer Town of Smyrna Parks and Recs Department.
Yes, this is phase 2 of the Cedar Stone Park development. A part of this addition would be a maintenance building and 4 new ball fields with a walking path and some additional parking. New entrance would be created off of Morton Lane and that is to access the maintenance building as well as the additional parking. That additional parking can also be accessed through the existing parking facility as well. South of this, there is room on the property for additional phases of the park. We have some updated numbers from when the packets went out on this. So the vehicular use area additional on the site is 4.10 acres. That would require 17,869 square feet of landscaping. They were showing for 19,686 square feet, meeting our requirements. Total park required is 10 spaces per acre of land for recreation plus 1 space per 4 spectator seats. What they are showing existing is 339 with 310 proposed spaces for a total of 649 total on site. Handicap parking requirement of 13 spaces based on the 649, and they are proposing for 28. Landscaping. Previously have a landscape plan. The applicant has submitted a landscape plan since the packets went out. The landscape plan now shows a mixture of trees and shrubs planted in landscape islands throughout the new parking areas. Architectural elevations show the buildings, both maintenance and the new concessions building, to be finished with 2 different CMU blocks with varying finish of aesthetic and color. The proposed buildings would match the existing building on site today. Couple of standard comments, all to remain, and staff comments as well. Staff comment 1, the redo the HD as is out of date. The applicant has indicated that a third-party consultant would perform this analysis and it would be completed prior to permitting. So that comment will remain. Comment number 2, we asked them to provide a landscaping plan, which they have done so. So that has been addressed accordingly. And comment number 3, we asked them to show a fire hydrant within 400 feet of all buildings, and they have done that as well, so that comment can be removed. Comment 4 is the utilities comment. Actually, number 4 and 5 is utilities comments, so we'll leave those for the utilities department to review. And comments 6, 7, and 8 are all CUD, as this does lie within CUD service boundaries. So staff comments 2 and 3 have been addressed, but with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions to Mitch about this?
We had concession buildings?
There's the one in the middle.
Just the one, okay.
In the middle of the 4 fields.
Yeah, there's actually 2. There's one in each of the 4 fields.
Okay.
One in addition to the existing.
Yeah. It's essentially duplicating what's already there. 4 fields and a concession with additional parking.
And then the maintenance building,
Yeah.
yeah, near the road.
Other questions? Charles?
Comment and a question. I've had the good fortune to work with a number of parks departments, and I think the Smyrna town should be very proud. I think we have probably one of the finest parks departments I've ever worked with. Just the attention to detail. They're just finishing up the racquetball and tennis courts, and they painted them the colors of Smyrna High School. And I think it's that attention to detail that really makes them outstanding. I know there's been discussion about connection to the Cedar Hills neighborhood. Do you have any update on that?
Mike may have an update.
Good evening. Ryan Shambly with Thomas and Hutton. We're at 502 Hazelwood Drive. We have looked at that. So on the eastern side of Morton Lane, there are some drainage ditches as well as electric poles. That'll probably be a challenge to that. It can be done, but with the timeline of this park construction, it's probably going to be take a little more time to get that designed. So there's some areas that's going to take taking open drainage ditches and putting those to underground piping to be able to accommodate the sidewalk. So this time we're looking at probably doing that in the future, but not in this phase, just for timing. But it could be done likely. This is likely going to be an 18-month project, so it could be designed and then done at a later date. But the construction could probably do it at the same time this is constructed. The other consideration is if you would want to connect the school, so that way kids can walk across and have a crossing guard. To do that, there would likely have to be a pedestrian bridge to be added to get across the creek, because right now there's just no space to accommodate on the eastern side, south side, with that box bridge. So.
Anything else?
So when you say at a later date, you would not want to include it in the plans for a second phase?
Let's
or-
let Mike just, that might be something you want to talk about. Come on up, Mike.
Mike Moss, 2402 Stewart Creek Road, Parks Director. Ryan and I have discussed that. Mr. Scurr has brought that up. Dave Santucci and I have discussed this. I know he's out of town, but Ryan and I have been looking at this for the last couple of weeks. Dave actually brought it to me first. So what we would like to do is look at the options, go to the town manager, and tell him what we're thinking, the scope of work, and see how he wants to proceed. I'm with Ryan here. If it was just adding a sidewalk, curb and gutter, and that was it, that might be not too big of a deal, but there is some elevation changes right there towards the school that's going to require some work. There's not much area there to work with, so it might be curb gutter, sidewalk, drainage pipe, that type of thing. So I want to make sure I know what the town manager wants in the scope and also the funding. It might be an opportunity to do that with the project, but it also may be more than just adding a sidewalk. The other option we talked about was possibly connecting Cedar Hills down the road a little bit and coming over and catching the walking trail and using that as a connector down towards the schools. But I think that's going to be a little bit out of the way, and I think most people will walk along the road at that point. So that's kind of where we stand. I'd like to get the town manager's thoughts on that before we move forward, because it's going to be a funding element. It's also going to be the connecting element to Cedar Hills. I think Mr. Skur, we totally agree with you. We need that connection, at least from the entrance we have now up to Cedar Hills. There's a crosswalk right there, but as you move on down, it's going to be more involved for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned funding, because that was what I was gonna say is, we talked about this project, well, every year for the last several years. Phase 1, the Phase 1B, and now Phase 2.
Yes, sir. Right.
And each year, to try to get this project to the finish line at some point, each year, we're kind of allocating a certain amount of funding. And of course, everything goes up every single year. So money that we thought we would spend this year in Phase 2 has been 20% higher than what we really
Oh, yeah.
planned for.
Yes, sir.
5 years ago. So that's the other factor when you start talking about having to add pedestrian bridges and underground
Sure.
pipe. Also, this particular piece of property is so full of rock
Right.
that when you start having to dig, it's blasting, it's not digging.
Oh, yeah. And there's some water line challenges right there. We had to drop to do the tennis and pickleball courts, we had to drop a water line there. But I still think it's very valuable to have a sidewalk on that side. I totally agree with Mr. Skur.
But
We
do you
discussed
think
that
you
at
need a
park board level.
sidewalk the entire length or just to the new driveway?
I think that's one of the options. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, just the short sidewalk that's, I
yes,
don't know,
And that-
100 feet?
yeah, and well, it's more than 100, but we're looking at that one already. But I thought you were talking about all the way down to
He's-
the
I
bridge.
think
No, 'cause
I think
all
he's
you really-
primarily talking from the road, Cedar Hills, up to the new entrance.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Primarily, I
purpose
think,
is to
yeah.
enable people to get into the park without
Yes, sir.
having
Yeah.
to cross Morton Lane twice.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that,
And that area has less challenges.
yeah, we can handle that one, for sure. And the other thing was, you'd mentioned was a possible crosswalk at that entrance over to the north side to catch that sidewalk, and they're gonna include that.
I think though that the crosswalk at, what is it?
Jericho?
Yeah. I think that may be part of a bigger safe routes to school effort.
Yes, sir.
I think my son lives in the neighborhood and he and his neighbors have been talking, and I think their objective is just to try to be able to have a safe path to get into the park.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
sir.
I think to the new driveway really achieves their
Yes, sir.
objective.
Yeah, oh, yeah, and I think we can probably get to the next driveway fairly easy too, just because you got space in there. And that gets you to another crosswalk, also gets you closer to the playground and a crosswalk in the park.
But I think once you get in the park, you can access
Yes,
everything in the park.
especially with the walking trail being included in this phase, you'll have a lot more access for sure.
Because the kids in the neighborhood just love the playground. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
a tremendous facility.
Yes, sir.
I've heard Mike say before, it's like building on the moon over
Yeah.
there. Said it's nothing but rock.
It's a tough site.
It's a tough site.
Tough
Part of the
sites
reason
equal.
We got it the way we got it.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes.
Exactly right. That's why Stewart's Creek isn't sitting on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Well, and I don't think anybody's talking overpasses. My experience is nobody uses overpasses,
Right.
so don't bother to build
Yes.
them.
But-
But it's really just that little segment between the farthest on the left to the first driveway, I think achieves the objective.
yes, sir. Oh, yeah, that gets you to the park. I think the school's another conversation.
And to your point, Charles, a while ago, when you were giving kudos to Mike and the staff and our Parks and Rec department, we hear that a lot. We hear it a lot from other communities when they come in here for ball tournaments. Steve, I know you do too. What a great Parks and Rec system Smyrna has. And so while we're up here, we want to
Oh,
make sure
yes,
you
sir.
understand. I know that you will work on that sidewalk plan.
Oh, yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
we will eventually have to fund that.
Yes,
But we get it, and I'm not as concerned maybe for that reason.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the comments, and I can tell you, it's certainly a team effort.
But I think
People sitting
Charles is
behind me
onto
around
something
here,
too,
you know.
connecting it.
Did I answer your question, Mr. Skirt?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what to tell the neighbors. So at this point, we're not including it in the phase one, even the short little segment.
I would like to talk to the town manager and see if they want to include that
And I
in
wouldn't-
the project, because some of that would be fairly easy to do, I think.
Well, and the demand from ball fields, I don't want to, I guess I'm not in favor of any type of deferment or anything. We've got a plan in front of us to look at, to approve and not to approve, and I think the bigger need right now are the fields, and I think, we can work on the sidewalks later, but
Oh, yeah.
from a perspective of not moving forward this time, I would hate to delay the project.
Well, like Mark said, knowing Mike, if it can be included, it will be.
He will.
Oh, yes, sir, yeah, and I think that Dave was kind of leading, at least a portion of that, going that way, but I don't want to put words in his mouth either,
Okay, anything else for Mike or Ray? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion from the commission?
Move to approve with staff comments.
A motion to approve with staff comments, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Reluctantly, nay.
That was a no?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, can we get this open next week? Can we get it open next week? Ask Charles about timelines.
Next, we have, under site plans, Fifth Third Bank, Lee Victory Parkway, owner, developer, Kroger Limited Partnership.
Yes, so this is a out parcel on the, next to Kroger that we saw a couple months ago in the Bulldog Drive subdivision. Fifth Third Bank is proposing for lot 3 within that development. The plat has not yet been recorded at this time and would have to be recorded prior to issuance of any building permits. The proposed building would be just over 2,000 square feet with 2 drive-through lanes. Access to this parcel would be provided via an easement through Lot 1, which is the site proposed for the Kroger development. Square footage of vehicular use area on this site, 16,879 square feet, which would require 1,688 square feet of landscaping. Applicant is proposing for 3,842. A little bit of discrepancy when packets went out. Applicant was including all the sod and grass area in their landscape calculations. So back down to more reasonable numbers with that 3,800 square foot number. Still meeting our requirements though. Total parking required of 1 space per 200 square foot plus 1 space per employee, which would require 14 spaces, and they're showing for 14 spaces. That does require 1 handicap parking space, which they're showing. Landscape plan shows maple and oak trees along the north, east, and west property lines with shrubbery planted between the trees. Additional vegetation is shown around the base of the building and landscape islands throughout the site. Architectural elevations have been also revised since the packets went out last week. The elevations show the building to be finished with a mixture of ACM, brick, EIFS, and glass glazing. As a result of the revisions that were made from the time packets went out, all of these sides now do meet architectural for design review. Standard comments 1 through 7 all remain at this time. Staff comment 1 regarding the recording of the final plat before the issuance of any building permits. More of an informational comment, but that will remain. Staff comment 2, the access road and utilities shown on the site as existing do not exist, and no building permit can be issued until these are built to serve this lot. Once again, more of an informational comment at this time, but will remain. Comment 3, the streetscaping along New Victory Parkway did not meet design review. That has been revised and does now meet design review, so we can remove comment number 3. Comment number 4, as mentioned earlier, the discrepancy in the large square footage of landscaping shown on the site, that has been revised accordingly, so comment 4 can be removed. Number 5, the architectural elevations previously did not meet design review, but they now do meet design review, so that can be removed as well. Number 6, they showed a sign along Lee Victory Parkway for this development. Did not meet at that time the 10-foot setback requirement from the right-of-way, and now does meet the setback requirement, so comment 6 can be removed as well. And number 7, regarding the auto turn for the fire truck throughout the site, has been addressed accordingly with the fire department, so number 7 can be removed as well. With that, we are left with staff comments 1 and 2, and all of the standard comments, and staff will recommend approval.
Questions for Mitch on this?
Pages 4 and 6, I'm sorry, 3 and 5, the design review adjustments that you said can be removed, does that meet all of the concerns with the south and west elevations?
Yes.
So there's no more design review issues?
Correct, all of them are above 75%. Now, those two sides were just a smidge below 75, so they're now above and they're good.
Any additional questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with staff's comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Steve. Do I have a second?
Do I need to say standard comments as well, since there's 2 separate comment sections?
That'd be helpful.
All right.
With
With standard
standard.
and staff comments.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve with standard and staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. We are next to on-call physician suite addition to Pets R Us Vet Clinic, 1850 Amable Road, owner, developer, Pets R Us Vets.
Pets R Us Vet is located at 1850 Allenville Road. They are proposing for an 832 square foot expansion of the existing just under 3,000 square foot building. The proposed expansion would serve as an on-call physician suite for doctors, 24-hour emergency service rest area. There is no additional vehicular use area being proposed for this site as part of this, just the addition itself. They have all the adequate parking they need at this time, so no additional landscaping is required as a result of that. Design review, architectural elevations have been revised as well since packets went out, so the addition in the back shows to be finished with a masonry product. We did ask as well, that previously they showed it as just straight CMU flat block for the finish. We asked them to revise that to more closely match what the existing building is. They have done that, so we are now okay with what they are showing on those elevations. It does not meet design review. This building existed previously to our current design review standards. So we are asking at this time that they do just meet the existing building so it doesn't look out of place or like blatantly like an addition onto an existing building. So with that, they're matching the existing building with the new addition for the elevations. Standard comments 1 through 3 all remain. Staff comment 1, we asked them to show a fire hydrant on the same side of Allenville Road as this building. They have done that, so that comment can be removed. Number 2 is regarding the elevation finish matching the existing building. They have done that as well, so comment 2 can be removed. Comments 3 and 4 are CUD comments, as this does lie within CUD's service area, and those comments will remain. But with that, staff does recommend approval.
Questions or comments from the commission?
So they're increasing by about 28, 30%. Any additional parking required? I don't see anything about parking spaces.
No, adequate parking is already existing. So.
They got more parking already on site than would be required even with this addition.
This expansion is essentially to the rear, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Towards the interstate.
Yes. And just, as we got some new members, the design review requirement for existing buildings doesn't kick in until you have more than 50% addition. So that's why it's not required in the design review. Because this building certainly pre-existed our requirements.
Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve, staff comment.
Motion to approve the staff comments from Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
So any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. It looks like our last item here is Twice the Ice House, CSX Railroad South of 50 North Lowry Street, owner, developer, CSX Railroad, and Alan Maltz.
Twice the Ice is proposing to locate a 216 square foot ice vending machine on CSX right-of-way. This property does have frontage on North Lowry Street, located across from Jackson Street and Monroe Street. The applicant has obtained an easement from CSX for the placement of this ice machine and the parking area. There is an existing curb cut on North Lowry Street in the location the applicant has shown for the proposed access to this site. And the site is located within the Lowry Street overlay and would have to meet those requirements as a result. Vehicular use area for the site, 5,478 square feet. And that does require 274 square feet of landscaping. They're showing for 2,000 square feet. Total parking required of 2 spaces, and they're showing for 4. Handicap parking of 1 space is required, and they're showing for 1 as well. The landscape plan shows a mixture of red maples and boxwood shrubs planted on the site. There's a 5-foot wide landscape buffer shown on the south and western property line. Additional shrubbery is shown at the base of the ice machine and lining North Lowry Street. As shown, the landscape plan is not consistent with Lowry Street overlay requirements. Just to give a little bit of overview on that, there's some sizing requirements for shrubbery that are not being met. And then the species of tree is not within the Lowry Street overlay requirements as well. So pretty minor updates that would need to be done to bring landscaping to Lowry Street overlay requirements. Architectural elevations show the building to be finished with a mixture of 2 different colors of brick and aluminum. As shown, the finished building elevations do not meet Lowry Street overlay requirements. We'll have a staff comment later in that will go over that as well. Standard comments 1 through 6 would all remain at this time. Staff comment 1, we asked them to show the proposed sewer service with sewer cleanouts as needed, as sewer service would be required for this building. As a utilities comment will remain for utilities to review at a later date. Number 2, TDOT approval may be required for the new access to Lowry Street. 3, the property lies within the Lowry Street overlay district. The proposal does not meet the Lowry Street overlay requirements for architectural character. These can be found in section 5.058 of the Smyrna Municipal Zoning Ordinance. Materials appear to meet the Lowry Street overlay requirements, but other issues such as the transparency requirement are not met for commercial buildings. The applicant has requested a waiver from this transparency requirement of the LSO as part of this request. 4, the landscaping required for the vehicular use area consistent with Lowry Street overlay requirements does not meet the Lowry Street overlay requirements. So as mentioned earlier, we're talking the shrub heights and tree variety, so not too much of a requirement to change for that. But the comment will remain. Number 5, the addition of asphalt and a building. This project will require to detain and treat stormwater runoff. That will be reviewed by our stormwater department. That comment does remain as well. Number 6, we asked them to show the material percentages for each wall face as well as the entire building. They have done that. Comment 6 removed. Number 7, the access to the vending machine was shown to occur within the hatched area for the ADA parking space. We asked them to shift that so people are not interfering with the hatched area for ADA requirements. They have done that. As a result though, so comment number 7 can be removed. We did have to add an extra comment. The spacing dimensions they showed for the ADA space do not meet van accessible dimensions. It has to be either 8 foot wide with an 8 foot hatched area or 11 feet wide with a 5 foot hatched area. It's shown 10 foot wide with a 5 foot hatched area, I believe. So it's gonna have to be increased in width by a foot in order to meet those dimensions. So staff comments 1 through 5, 6 and 7 have been addressed, and then we have an additional for 8 that would all remain at this time. And the applicant is requesting a waiver from the Louder Street Overlay architectural guidelines as part of this request as well. And the applicant is here to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, questions for Mitch on this one?
The last part that you said, the waiver, yeah, I kind of lost you in track there.
So there's, for commercial buildings, there's a requirement for, I believe it's glass on a building.
Windows,
yeah.
basically, yeah. Yeah.
Which, as a result of what this building is, that is the requirement, or that is why they're making a request to deviate from the requirements, since traditionally wouldn't have windows on a structure as such.
Let's discuss, because we've got some new folks here as far as the LSO, what exactly that is and what we're trying to achieve with that.
Yeah, so it's a overlay district. We have
Louder Street Overlay.
Louder Street Overlay District, yep. Runs from the overpass at Sam Ridley down to the overpass at Nissan Drive. And there's additional requirements on top of what our traditional design review would require, such as namely the aesthetics and then landscaping as well. So it's just additional above and beyond requirements that add on to the base zoning requirements.
And for a commercial building, it's 40%, you know, on the first floor, basically. So obviously, there's no windows on a ice machine, so they couldn't meet that requirement for this type of building. So that's part of the reason for that specific waiver that's been requested.
I was trying to figure out exactly the location here. This is essentially that empty lot that was beside what used to be Tenpenny Tire. I don't know what it is now. It's an automotive
Yes,
business.
that's correct. It's,
And so the cut to 41 is the existing cut that's already there,
Correct.
right? So we don't have to worry about TDOT and proximity to the red light?
yeah, it was put there. I don't know if Mr. King wants to address anything specific on that particular cut, but that was provided for that area,
When we redid that
when
side,
we
right?
redid that
We
side,
put it
yeah.
in, yeah.
So that's what we said in May. You know, I don't know if they're gonna require any type of permit or not. They may not, since there is an existing curb cut already there.
And that, based on the drawing, that's their only ingress and egress, right? There's no other,
Correct.
That's correct.
So is the transparency issue, I just want to make sure, a requirement, is that the only thing, and I'm not including landscaping at this point, but as far as just the actual structure itself, as far as the elevations are concerned, other than the transparency, does that meet the LSO requirements?
That's just, yeah, that's really it. I mean, essentially, it's an all brick building, other than the signage, and obviously there's some doorways and the equipment and all that's not brick, but essentially it's an all brick building.
It's not a very big building either.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
It's
hear.
not really a very big building.
Oh, it's very small.
245
Yeah,
total
I don't know
square
whether
feet.
that's where Chairman's going with it or not, but I'm just trying to figure out, where do you put a window on
Yeah.
a small
Yeah,
brick
well,
building that houses ice?
Yeah, what's the point in the window? Where do you put
Right.
it?
Unless you're gonna show off how ice is made.
Look, you could have a whole side panel showing ice being frozen.
By the time you get signage and a door and the dispenser, I'm sorry,
Don't have any room for a window.
it's hard to put one in there.
Yeah, and this obviously was not a use that was anticipated when the overlay was put in place.
The good thing is we wouldn't have to worry about somebody putting signs in the window that don't meet our ordinances.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I can be able to line the windows with lights.
Yeah. Talk to me about this landscaping thing again. Isn't this just a asphalt parking lot pretty much?
Currently, yeah, but part of the overlay requirement is we have some landscaping in here and they're adding pavement, so you'd have to do some landscaping anyways. What we need them to meet that the overlay requires, the shrubbery they're showing is 18 inches tall at planting. Overlay requires 24 inches tall, so not too much
Not a
of a
big
difference. Then the tree species, there's a list of species in there. The one that they're showing is not in that list, so just swap out the species with a different species. That's the only
And that
deviation.
requirement can be addressed, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
Pretty
sure.
simply, that can be
Yes.
addressed. But
Yep.
I think the transparency requirement is a little much, in my opinion.
Other questions or comments?
If they change the signage size, would that allow for a faux window, or is it LSO allow faux windows?
I don't know if it meets.
Basically a window that's blacked out.
And they're showing signage kind of on those,
On every side.
primarily on the side where the ice will be dispensed, and then also on the other the two longer sides. Just a sign on the back doesn't really,
Yeah, that south side doesn't have a
the
sign or
south side,
anything. It's pretty narrow.
yeah, I don't know why you would, the west side
Yeah.
facing the railroad track, I don't know they really need a sign there.
No.
One can see it, really.
It looks like from the
You
drawing.
also wouldn't see a window there either, so
Drawings.
what's the point?
Yeah, you wouldn't, yeah, exactly, it would make no sense to put a window on that side anyway, I mean.
Are all,
I don't know that it's, because of the type of building it is, it's not I don't know if there's really even a need to put a faux window on it, it's such a small building. I don't know that I have a big issue there, it's just the type of building it is, you're not gonna put a window on it. So again, it wasn't a use that was considered or contemplated when we put in an overlay, that someone would
Yeah, this,
put a machine in
you know,
just to
this,
sell ice.
this side of 41 is always a challenge anyway because it's so small and so narrow. There's not a whole lot that could go there anyway. In my opinion, this is a lot better than some of the options we could have. And honestly, it looks a lot better than what's there today. So,
and he got the railroad's blessing.
yeah, and somehow he got CSX degree, which is surprising.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve with staff comments.
Are you requiring or not requiring?
Including the waiver on the,
Yep, including the waiver on the transparency.
Okay. All right, I have a motion to approve with staff comments, including the waiver of the transparency requirement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
This motion is approved. Okay, next we have a mandatory referral, Stewart's Creek Sewer Main Easement Acquisition.
yes, this is a mandatory referral for the town to, we are preparing to obtain easements for the extension of sanitary sewer into the Stewart Creek drainage basin. We extend public sewer to serve the Almoville Road area, extending near to the 840 interchange in that area, Knob Road, that area down there. A developer will be contributing to the construction of this extension, but the town will be acquiring the easements. We did attach the map, which is also on the screen there, showing those locations of those easements. Really kind of three different phases of construction. So we'll be obtaining all the easements at once. The Planning Commission is required to review the obtaining of these easements and find whether or not it is in keeping with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town and make a recommendation to the town council. Staff would recommend approval.
Okay, questions to Kevin concerning this mandatory referral?
this entire thing gravity, or there's some pumping stations?
It is a gravity. I believe Mr. Parker's here and probably can deal with the details. This is actually, part of this is also to remove some pump stations out of the service. Mr. Parker can address some of the
Yes, sir.
technical details.
Mark Parker, Assistant Director for Smyrna Utilities. This is 100% gravity, sir. So we're going to basically be following the creek from Ambleville Road at 840 all the way out to Ambleville Road from Ambleville Road at 24 to Ambleville Road at 840. And then in process, we're going to run 2 spur lines off, and we're going to take 4 lift stations out of service. So,
you're going up to 24 as your max size?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That long green line is essentially all 24. That will terminate at Burnt Knob Road. It'll transition down to an 18, and from there, the 18 will go all the way to 840.
Isn't there also a pump station or something there at Burnt Knob?
That was the original design, but we have since done away with that, and we're gonna make it gravity all the way out.
Okay.
Other questions for Mark while we have him up here? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion concerning this mandatory referral.
I'll make a motion to approve the mandatory referral with staff comments.
A motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All in favor of approving this motion for the mandatory referral, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This referral is approved. We're now on to the next agenda item, which is the Smyrna Mobility Plan.
Yes, this is an update to our 2017 Major Thoroughfare and Bicycle Pedestrian Plan. It was adopted in 2017. We started about a year ago, kind of began the process of updating that plan. There were several opportunities for public input, as well as meetings with smaller groups of stakeholders. In addition, we had 2 separate joint meetings with this group as well as in the town council. Since then, we have worked with Kimley Horn, who's our consultant on this project, to finalize that plan. We did include in your packet the final draft of the plan, which was revised to include the input from the last meeting we had on April 24th, the joint meeting we had there. This is a document that does provide the town's vision for transportation improvements. The projects have been prioritized based on existing traffic congestion, safety needs, ease of implementation and maintenance, multimodal options, public input, and economy, and freight movements. It will help to guide transportation improvement decisions as the town continues to grow. In addition, it does dictate the needed right-of-ways for existing and future roads that will allow the planning commission to require dedication of right-of-way and construction improvements as development occurs. It's not intended to be a rigid document that never changes, but it does provide, as I call, a rudder for helping us steer the ship. So we would recommend approval of the 2025 mobility plan.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, I know we've had this for a few days now, and we've discussed it much longer. Does anybody have any further questions or comments concerning the mobility plan?
I was reading through this all last night, Kevin, and there's a tremendous amount of work that y'all been putting in here, and good work. But I was shocked to see on page 198 of the total documents that an online survey only generated 63 responses.
Yeah, we were disappointed in that. I mean, we put the word out, social media,
Yeah.
website. I mean, we put, we got a lot better public input at Halloween in the Park, and I believe they also went to the last Coos Run, and just, they got a lot better input there, just talking to people face to face than we did on the online survey. It was
So it's just
interesting.
the online survey that had that, there's been a lot more feedback coming in from all of
Absolutely,
them.
absolutely.
All right,
There's quite a bit more feedback than just that. That was just one of the options we had out there.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think it's indicative of, you know, these days we get so many surveys and requests for stuff. I think stuff's just becoming white noise.
Yeah.
And used to, you know, you put something like that out, you get hundreds of feedback online. Now people are so kind of over it.
Look at the census before
Yeah.
the rules changed. The census wasn't getting.
We were struggling to get their census numbers to get
Yeah.
it completed.
Yeah. But it's, in something like this, the effort that you put forth and so forth, it's fair to say there's probably nobody in town, 50-plus thousand people, that hasn't had an opportunity to see this, read this, comment on this, pros, cons whatsoever.
Right. They certainly had the opportunity. Yes.
Other questions or comments? We need to take action on this.
Yes, you hopefully you would approve the plan, and we would also, we would take it to council as well for their endorsement as well.
Okay.
As we typically do with these type of documents.
There may be more discussion there too, but I'll make the motion to approve the staff comments.
I have a motion to approve the mobility plan from Mark with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The mobility plan is approved. Next, we're on to the June bond review report.
Yes, and this month, for the first time in a while, we actually have a fairly short one. Shorts Crossing Phase 2. This is one we've had a couple years now. They're only about 28% built out there. Did talk to the developer. They said they're looking at a fall 2026 or spring 27 completion as they're thinking on this. Since we've already had this 2 years, I would recommend it's a 6-month extension there. Stewart's Glen is another one we've had a couple years. They're just under 70% built out there. The developer there did say they're probably 1 year away from finishing up and paving the streets. Would recommend a 6-month extension on that one. And then Amberton Section 4, this is the end of their maintenance period. They had 3 comments that came back from Public Works and Utilities. Did contact that developer, did say they will get this done before that June 26th expiration date. So if they do that, certainly we could release it. Otherwise, we would recommend a 3-month extension on that one. That's all I got.
That's about the smallest one I remember seeing in a long time.
It's been that way for a long time. Yeah, that's just how the
Must be
dates fell
collecting
this
the
time.
funds pretty rapidly now.
Yeah.
Amen.
Any other comments or questions concerning the bond review report? I'll entertain a motion then.
Motion to accept the bond report as presented.
I have a motion to accept the bond review report as submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor of approving the bond review report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This bond review report has been approved. Next, staff comments or other business.
The only thing I have is your July meeting, as the first Thursday of the month is the 3rd of July. And since that is fireworks show and also the town hall is closed the next day, we did set up, and it's in your schedule, but it will be on Tuesday the 1st. So just want to be sure to remind everyone of that. So
You're going to
next time
call
we-
us several times, right?
Yeah.
Catherine?
We will certainly send you emails with everything that has that, but it can just as a reminder, but just that it will be on Tuesday instead of Thursday next month. So,
Okay.
same week, just on Tuesday instead of Thursday. So that's all I've got.
Anything, okay. Anything from the commission? We stand adjourned.
Good job.
July 1st.
Talk about trees, cut enough trees down.